Hey, Kyler here. Our aim for this show is to leverage every opportunity that life throws at us. I hope you find value in today's show.
Attention, families with 5 million and up. Listen to these questions right now. Does your family know where everything is, what it's all worth, and what to do with it? I can't tell you how many families that Kyler and I have talked to that communication about estate planning and the wealth that's there, it's just non-existent. And it blows me away every single time that there's this been tremendous wealth that's been growing over time, but no one talks about it and no one knows where everything is. So that's what we want to dive into today on our 8-question diagnostic series that every estate plan and wealth transfer plan should be able to answer. And today is all over communication. Does your family know? And if your family doesn't know, I wouldn't say it's a planning failure. I'd say it's just a communication failure. And that's why we have to talk about it today, go deep on it, because an estate and a wealth transfer plan cannot actually get transferred if it lives between your two ears. It's a communication issue between 6 inches. Come on, we got to talk about this stuff, folks. So let's dive into it today.
Man, Kord, do we have a good one for you today, as Steve Harvey would say? This is Kord, we were just talking about this, obviously, and these are topics of conversation that get us really excited. And I know for you, because you came in, out of pastoral care and things like that. I know you're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But when you're looking at the technical side of estate planning, that gets a lot of attention. You've got documents, you've got trusts, you've got wills, you've got structures, you've got tax strategies, you've got all these things that matter, obviously, on the very technical side of things, but we can't lose sight of the human side of things, right? Making sure that the people that you love actually know what's going on. Because when you read a trust, or if you read something that's very legal, it's sometimes hard to comprehend for the average person. So we always love to sit down with our clients and basically say, hey, you've got X, Y, and Z in place. Number one, where is it? Do you know what it means? And who are the key people that you need to have hardcore cold listed out when something happens to you? Those are the things that we really have to nail down good, because if you skip that part, you're going to be missing out on one of the biggest acts of love that you can do as a provider for your family. And when you pass away, that's something that if you have this nailed down, it's going to make things so much smoother. Because if you've got a family that's scrambling and they don't know where anything is, that's just another layer of pressure and, you know, confusion on top of the grieving process. And it just makes everything so difficult for everybody. So the communication gap is often wide when we're talking about this stuff, specifically for families that have a lot of things going on in their family, in their life, whether it's business, they've got different real estate stuff, but they've got to know where everything's at. So we really want to talk about like 3 different layers to that communication gap, and really just where everything is. Okay. So the first is location. Where are the documents located? Now, if you have an attorney, obviously, or I should say, if you have an attorney, you've done an estate plan, they're more than likely going to give you one of those leather bound binders that has all the stuff in it, right? They're going to give you a copy of that, which is great. You need to know where that's at, obviously. They're going to have copies of it too, but you're going to have a personal copy as well. And so it's good for your family to know that. That's somebody that you need to have written down as somebody to contact for when someone passes away. So that's one of the first communication gaps that we'll see, is just the location of where some of these documents are. Are they in a filing cabinet that nobody knows exists? Is it in the filing cabinet at the business owner's office, but the spouse doesn't even know that there's a filing cabinet in the office, right? So there's got to be a lot of good communication about, like, where does this stuff actually exist? Okay. Number two, Cord, the layer of this one is just the people who are involved. I just mentioned about this a second ago. So you've got advisors, you've got estate planning attorneys, you've got your CPAs, you've got this person, the insurance agent. So who are the actual people involved in your life, right? You need to have a list and a documented list of who all these people are, what are their phone numbers, what are their emails, and that's a super easy one actually. So you just literally write it out, and I would keep this, guess what, in the same location as everything else. That way it's consolidated and you know where everything is, because it's not going to be good if you've got, you know, your trust and your will documents in a filing cabinet that's somewhere else, but then you've got the list of advisors and everything on a note on your phone.
Mhm.
That's going to be problematic, because how does a spouse know that they need to look on the other spouse's phone on an Apple Note, right? Like that may not be the best plan. So the third layer is understanding not just where things are and who to call, but what everything means. The plan is designed to do what it's supposed to do,
Mhm.
but the decisions and the understanding of what's been actually done is absolutely critical. And so when you've got buy sell agreements, you've got ILETs, you've got different, like I said, legal things in place. Like I said, those are very technical things. So sometimes it's a good thing to actually have maybe simplified versions. I don't want to say maybe that's a bad way to say it, but like maybe, no, I guess I would say like almost like a simplified version of maybe what this stuff means. And we have internally different a software that we use that, and I'll talk about this here in a little bit, but that we actually can have clients type out, hey, who is this person in our family that is the
Mm.
heir, right? It's listed in the documents, obviously, but like, what's their understanding of our wealth? What's their understanding of their role in the family and the role in passing this on to the next generation after them, right? So there's different things that we've got to look at just from a family values and like wealth origin story standpoint, and just like what's the story of them, the story of their family. That's really important for us. And I would say that's actually one of the things that we really, really prioritize with
Mhm.
people, because everyone can manage money, right? A lot of people can do, an estate plan, but who are the people that are actually going to help you design the story of your family and have everything consolidated to make sure that there are
Mhm.
no communication gaps at all? That is what's very, very valuable for the people that we've worked with from what they've told us.
Mhm.
So, Court, I'm going to pass that off to you. I know I just ranted for a second, but like I said, I get excited about this stuff because it's so meaningful to both
Yeah.
of us and from different aspects. Because, like you said, or like I said, you come from a pastoral ministry care standpoint, and I come from a medical background. So we're both used to having kind of some hard conversations with people in some hard times. And we've realized and we've seen those experiences, how that shapes people when you do things the right way. And that's something that we really want to merge from both ends of our experiences together to make sure that our families are taken care of.
And just so I can repeat it, we're looking at location, people, and understanding.
You
Those are the
got it.
three prongs right there: location, people, and understanding. And Kyler, I'm just going to ask for your permission real quick. Um, do you mind if I just be completely, transparently, brutally honest for a moment?
Go for it.
Just to be candid, transparent, all cards on the table. From my pastoral background, I've been in the hospital with families before. I have counseled families before. I've been with other pastors with families before in these hard moments. And let me tell you what was harder than losing a loved one. The whole next year and a half of trying to figure out what to do next.
Mm,
I didn't know anything. I've talked to families. I was talking to a estate planner this week that said most of their clients don't want their kids to know how much money they actually have. BS. That is the most selfish posture I could possibly imagine in a family. That just, I don't want to go too on too much of a rant here, but if you don't want your kids to know how much money you've actually had and the origin story of how you built that wealth, how do you expect them to steward it well? And people are so nervous. I think my kids are gonna squander the wealth. I think my kids are gonna do whatever. They're gonna go buy whatever truck or something or whatever house. Why don't you buy them the house? While you can. I mean, you have such an opportunity in front of you to take care of your family, to communicate and bring your family into the opportunity to create generational wealth. So talk about it. And yes, I've heard, oh, it's awkward. It's hard. They're not going to understand. We might not be able to communicate it well because there's emotions involved. Well, guess what? Something that's fruitful and worthwhile is always on the opposite side of something that's uncomfortable and hard. Have the conversation, bring people in. And yes, I have a pastoral background, so I'm saying that from a heart of I've seen it. I've watched some of my friends lose their parents and lose loved ones and deal with the messy financial situation they didn't actually know existed. And they didn't even know who the advisor was or the estate planner. Actually, one of my buddies had to go find their own because their parents didn't have one. So, from my heart, have the conversation. Bring everyone in and actually be transparent. It's your family. And if it's hard and it's awkward, good, it's supposed to be. But then on the other side of that conversation, something fruitful and really meaningful actually happens. Okay. Rant over. Kyler, I'm going to stop talking.
Come on, preacher. Oh man. Now, Corey, I mean, you bring up so much reality. That's what it is. It's reality. And I just wish, yeah, I, I know you know it. I wish more people could see it in a different light. But when you look at, you almost have to put yourself in the family's shoes too, right? Because we've heard this side of the story. Parents, grandparents, they had to work. They had to build the thing, right? A lot of these people are generation one, generation two.
Hmm.
So why? I don't want to ruin my kids by just giving them everything. You know what I mean? So, like, those are conversations, those are real things that people say. They don't want to ruin their kids. They don't want to ruin their grandkids because obviously in today's age, like, we're so, we can get everything we need like this. So if we're just given things, like, sometimes that they think it can create this mentality of I don't have to do anything. And I don't want to disagree with that, by the way. That's a very valid concern and everything. But I think that when you really get down to the heart of it, it's how you frame the conversation. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's how do you communicate this in saying, "Hey, we built this. You are our heirs. Here's what this means for the next generation, the next generation, the next generation." This does not mean that you need to go below this on $50,000 vacations. That's
Hmm.
not what that means. There's a very healthy way to have these conversations where you're framing this. And you can make it legal too, actually. I mean, some of the wealthiest families in the US, generationally wealthy,
Hmm.
very wealthy, their entire structure is listed out, like generational wealth. They have listed out in documents, trust documents, et cetera, that, hey, you can access certain parts of money if you hit this milestone. If you
Hmm.
want to start a business, if you want to provide value to the world, fantastic. Here's an opportunity to do that, but you have to go do something. Get your education, right? It's not just saying, "Hey, here's a big estate pile of cash. I'm going to drop in your lap with no
Hmm.
instruction." That is a plan for disaster because it goes back to the communication thing. There's no communication on what the expectations are and the standards going forward for that family and their wealth. So you see both sides of the coin, and
Hmm.
you've got to be able to have the conversations in an instructional way, in my opinion, and that way families
Hmm.
actually know there's guardrails in place to keep this in line because you and I both know, and it's very documented that, you know, by the 3rd generation, like, a lot of wealth is gone.
Mhm.
So, I really think that's just because a lot of times there's no guardrails in place, and people just aren't having the right conversations in the right ways. But they are uncomfortable. They can be uncomfortable conversations, so we don't ever wanna invalidate people's feelings on that too. So, okay, Cord, well, let's keep going. I do wanna talk about, um I mean, you kinda talked about this actually just a second ago with just how that plays out, like, realistically, like, we've seen this, but it's true. Like, when you're looking at a family that's in a hard time, it's gonna take if it takes a long time to get everything settled, that is so
Mhm.
much more pressure and confusion for families. So, I'm not gonna go any more on that. You've nailed that, you know, really, really well on just that concept and stuff. But I would say too, I'm gonna go back to, just something that I think is important. I wanna talk about a couple things that, um I don't wanna say brag on us for a second, but I was like, I wanna talk about a couple things just to bring some clarity to the situation of maybe how we do things when we have conversations with people, and just to maybe just spark the idea that this may be something that
Mhm.
is worthwhile to do. Maybe you've done it, maybe you haven't done it, or if you're an advisor listening to this, these might be conversations of things to maybe have with some of your, clients and stuff. So, we talked about, wealth origin story, when we talk about this stuff with families, we want to go through essentially what I call is like a my family. I don't want to say illustration, but it's a tool essentially. And so, what we're able to do is really sit down with clients. Actually, we will send this to clients as homework to do, but we
Mhm.
want them to list out different milestones in their family. Like, what's important for you? We want you to actually document this stuff because the next generation are not going to have a clue what happened in your life. I don't know. I mean, we know our great grandparents, Cord, but I don't know when they were born. I don't know where they were born. You know what I mean? I don't know when my grandparents, like where they were born, like what was their growing up story. So there's different milestones you can talk about with people to really just paint a picture of like what's shaped us to where we are today. That's kind of leads into like the origin story. Like what was the turning point for families?
Yes.
And what were the sacrifices that had to be made? And in a lot of ways, what were the values that drove it? Those are things that we want to paint a picture for people for to allow them to have better understanding. And that kind of goes back to the guardrails in place. I think if you have these kind of things, you can actually tangibly look and read and you can feel it emotionally what's actually gone in the past. Because if you don't have any frame of reference of where things came from, that's where things go sideways. That's where things go wrong. And
Yes.
so this is where this is. I want to paint the picture of like this is the why we would do this stuff too. And Cordy, you talk about vision and values. What do we value? What are the families? What are they building towards? How did decisions get made? Things like that.
Mhm.
A lot of people I've heard, do this. We do this as well. But legacy letters if you're not familiar with that, it's basically, having family members write out different letters for family members at certain time points in their life going forward. Those are very, very meaningful. Like, say, like I've got 2 daughters writing like 2 letters. I'm not going to sit here and cry about this, but but writing letters for their wedding day, for them to read on their wedding day. That's a wildly proactive approach to this type of planning. But
Mhm.
it's not normal, but I think this should be the normal because I think if you had this stuff, it would improve communication greatly within families. And then one of the biggest things too, I would say, Core, is just next gen and education. So you've got generational wealth. What does the next generation know about what's going on? You mentioned this earlier, and you said those people didn't want your kids to know how much money they had. They're gonna find out eventually.
Mhm.
So like what education do they have? What's the role in their family on who's doing what? Who's taking it's just we've got to have these conversations. So Cord, practically speaking, just having good conversations with our clients, it's good for them. It helps us build better relationships with our clients, obviously, because now we know and they know that we care because we do care, right? That's what we do. We're in this to this
Yeah.
we care and we love our clients and we wanna make sure that, we're in their corner, on their side for their family.
Yeah.
So, these are just some of the things, like I said, that, we'll do. And so if that is of interest at all with you, whoever's listening to this, then, really just kind of think through some of those things. Maybe just like pause, rewind, like re-listen to kind of some of the things that we'll do with people. If that sounds at all interesting and you've never done that before,
Yeah.
then reach out. We would love to have that conversation with you, what that could look like for your family.
Yeah. It's so, so important. Family vision, mission, values, that is the heart posture that actually passes on wealth that's generational. You're not just talking about money. Yes, you are talking about money, but not just that, but values and mission and goals and, legacy. And that's where the action step comes in. Type out a one pager, a one-page document. You could even handwrite it if you want to, and just list out those three-pronged things that Kyler had mentioned, the understanding, the people, and the location of it. Write all of those things out, the location, the people, and the understanding of how this is actually going to get played out. And we love walking alongside families and actually building that together. It's one thing to just say you care, and it's another thing to go above and beyond and actually do it and sit with people and care and talk through what matters most. And they're actually my favorite conversations, especially from my, care and pastoral background. And I'll leave everyone with this from today's episode from the Leverage Life Show. There is a very powerful verse in Judges chapter 2 that says, "There arose a generation in Israel that did not know the Lord and the works that he had done." There arose a generation in Israel that did not know the Lord and the works he had done. And if you read the book of Judges, it is the worst book in all of the Bible because it's an absolute dumpster fire and train wreck of Israel just completely losing it. Why? They hadn't been told and communicated about who the Lord was and what he had done in their provision. So if you want to leave a legacy for your family, talk about it. Communicate what has been built, your story in the process, who made it happen, the key decision makers, the big impact milestone moments. Put it all down. And that way, a generation after you does not arise and squanders it and does whatever they want with it. That's how you leave the legacy. You talk about it, you communicate, and you not just build something that's worth great value, but you pass it on and you show it and you communicate it and you instruct what it looks like to really live a life that's worth living and building wealth. So, if that's of any interest to you, we love having you on this show. We would encourage you to text SHOW, text show to the phone number 479-396-3528. We will have that phone number in the description of this episode as well. Feel free to shoot us a text if it's at all interest to you to develop a family vision plan so that you can leave a legacy for your family. We'll see you next week on the Leverage Life Show, tackling the fifth question in the diagnostic of every question an estate plan needs to be able to answer. Until then, we'll see you next time. Hit that like and subscribe button.